All people want, see if you can agree with me on this one here. All people want is to be treated with dignity and respect. They'd rather be asked than told to do something. So, sir, would you mind? Would you be just mindful that there are people that don't like their videos taken, as opposed to, mate, there are people in here that don't want their videos taken. You need to move. You need to turn off your camera. Massive difference. One is a request. The other one is a demand. One is assertive. The other one is aggressive. So asking a person gives them a chance to respond, and that's what you want. Everyone wants to feel important. This person who's obviously doing a documentary of libraries wants to know that he's going to be important. Don't become the center of attention. The person with a camera is only going to put you on camera. They're going to throw it up on their socials. They're going to put it on YouTube. They're going to monetize it. They're going to make all this money out of you. And let's not do that. People would rather have options than threats. Mate, if you don't put your camera down, we're going to call the police. That's a threat. And then the police turn up and they go, there's nothing we can do. Or options. So if you wouldn't mind, take some videos of something else. Just if you can just steer away from the children and other people in here, that'd be great. I hope you get some great shots. And of course, lastly, people want to have a chance to be heard. That's it there. So let's get into this one here. And we'll come back to some of those scenarios. We'll ask some of those because, again, if we got the one where somebody is screaming at you, my question to you would be, why are they screaming at something that you may have delivered to them? So this is now, why does this person get angry? Why did we get angry? So in my head, I go, what has triggered that person to get so angered that they've raised their voice to decibels where they scream, and if they got food in their mouth, they're going to be spitting it at the same time? I'm not saying that you're responsible for that person screaming or yelling. I'm not saying that. What I'm asking is that what do you think may have triggered that person to yell? Because that's not a normal behavior, maybe in a library or in a park. So I wonder what have happened. So the person who asked that question, how do you prevent someone from screaming at you? Is there a way that you could maybe elaborate on that response, so we get maybe some context behind why the screaming happened? Because I doubt very much they walked into the library, opened up the doors, walked up to someone and yelled. They may have, but there may have been a letter in the mail. There may have been something that had triggered them with contact libraries for this. I'm not sure. So does anyone want to make comment? It doesn't have to be the person that wrote that comment. But if you want to elaborate to that. And I've just got here, Jeff B just wrote, so if the library puts up a rule that there is to be no unauthorized filming, is that enforceable? It's not enforceable. It's a rule. You can't enforce something that is law. That is not law. That's the difficulty part in this one, Jeff. Or there's no unauthorized filming. Well, who's authorizing it? I can authorize that filming myself. I go, who gave you authorization? I did. The law does. And then Alice wrote, so the council rules are not legally enforceable. I would ask this question, rather than me saying it from a policing background, I would ask your policymakers. Just ask the question, and you're going to get a response. And I'll be very courteous here. We put these things up there, the rules up here, because we know 99% of people will just abide to them. We can't help the 1% of person that just says, I don't follow any rules, mate. You want me to wear shoes in here? I don't have shoes. It's a public space. I'm walking in here. Correct dress must be worn. A T-shirt. There's a good example. You go into a nightclub. After 6 o'clock, you got to wear a T-shirt. You got to wear a collar. Really? And then a woman walks behind me, as an example, and doesn't have a collar on. I go, how come she doesn't have to have a collar? Because that's a female. Well, I identify as a female now. So what happens now? So rules are there because we know 99% of people will abide by them. So in this one here, Alice, depending on what the rule is, if it's ethical and it's legal, is what the question is. But thank you for putting that up. I'll try to get to this as much as I can, like reading back your comments, so I can answer them for you on a legal perspective. It's really important. So let's go back to the person screaming. Anyone want to add to that? Why would a person scream? Or even the spitting one? Why would someone spit food at you? My question here is, what was the trigger point? Anyone got would like? I've got 20 people in here. There could be someone that would just like to add to it. Courtney, I think you've just unmuted yourself.
Yeah, that was me that asked the question. And
Yes.
this was in an old job of mine. Um, so to lay out the situation, it was late at night. The guy was very obviously drunk, and he came in and he bought, at the time, was a new traveler's pizza. And I'll say from the beginning, these sucked. They were hard straight out of the oven. They were not great. He was mad. He had two, three bites, came in, wanted a refund. Part of policy, I couldn't refund on refood, even if I wanted to. Even if I agreed with him, and I did, I couldn't refund it. It was against it. I would have gotten in trouble majorly.
Yeah.
So as I'm telling him, like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't refund it, he's getting more and more angry, and then he decides to spit the food at me
Right.
in retaliation.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So let's put some context around that. Now, hearing what we've done, is there another way you could have handled it? Like, and again, most people, they don't want a sorry, sir, there's nothing I can do. What they want is, at this moment, I can't give you a refund. Like, I can't be able to give you this, but can you leave it with me to see if there's something that we can offer you? Because that moment in time stops that person from spitting it out to spitting it out. Because once we stop the sentence dead in its tracks and says, look, our policy says we cannot refund you anything, there's a non-negotiable there. That's a non-negotiable. It means, sorry, mate, you're bad, your loss. Don't care. And even though you cared and you wanted to, is there something else you could have provided?
in that situation, no.
Yeah.
It really was between a wall and a rock, basically.
Yeah.
As much as I felt bad for the guy and I did want to help, there was nothing I could have done that wouldn't have gotten me in trouble later the next day with my manager.
So, yeah, and see what happens here? This is really important here. Really important. So what's happened is that your manager has put you into a situation where you can cop abuse. This is not a safe situation. Remember, I talked about we all have the right to go to work safe and be safe. Mm-hmm. If a rule has been put in place that is going to potentially put you in an unsafe situation, the manager's liable for that. Like, I know this was probably years ago. This was years ago. You can't put rules in place that's going to be putting people's lives or at harm or in danger. It's legislated nowadays. This is why everywhere you go, there's the Are You Okay Day. There's the safe space that you can go. There's the Be Kind to Everyone. There's the inclusion and diversity. Everywhere that you go, I don't know, there's a workplace that I have not been where behind a toilet wall, when you're sitting there, standing there, it has the rules up there about employees and employers giving you a safe space. So in this case here, this is a really tough one. The approach would have been, this is what the approach should be afterwards. Right, the attack had happened. This person had attacked you, correct? So that there is what we call is an assault. The person spat food at you, that's assault, not battery, because it may not have touched you. So that's assault. So you could have grabbed all the cameras that were around. You could have gone to the police and you could have put in a report. The second thing that should have happened is you walk to your manager and say, I feel unsafe in my workplace because of this rule. Now, if the manager turns around and says, I don't care, them's the rules, then that person's abrogated their safe responsibility. So I'll leave that there There's not much that you could have done once the food came out. There's something here that somebody had written. The trigger point can be as simple as an authority figure, like a librarian, trying to interact with that customer. They're already in a bad enough mood that you can be that person's outlet. That's correct. Yes, someone else has made that trigger point for that person to yell. You can refer them to your manager. That should be the best thing to do. And I'm thinking maybe Courtney, the manager, wasn't around when you made that statement that you can't offer the food, offer any refund. Would that be correct?
Yeah, it was about 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So there was no
So
other supervisor?
no, I was the only one there at the time,
Yeah.
and I was about 3 months into the job. So
Yeah. Yeah. See, another unsafe situation. Are there alone in the job? 3 months, you're only quite new. Um, I've been to court on these cases here. I've been to court having to testify on these cases here because what's important here is I can't stress it more. Your safety is number one priority. Nothing else matters. I mean, you can argue with me later on that. We can sit here and we can have this debate, but your safety, nothing trumps safety. And so in this case here, you should have been able to at least go, just one moment, let me call my manager, let me call the owner, let me call the supervisor, and then get them to take responsibility and accountability. But here's what generally happens. I've been in the situation myself where I have asked, when I was in policing, where I have asked a young constable to go and deal with a situation, I've put that person in potential danger. And my response would have been, back in those days, well, they got to learn. They got to learn somehow to handle these situations. I can't be there all the time. But that was early 80s. We've changed since then. There's another person has written here, refer to the manager. They may have a lot going on in their life and say the overdue notice was in the mail. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Correct. So the small things could be the tipping point into the anger. Absolutely, 100%, Alice. That could be it too. Somebody also says, ask them to take the details and get back to them. That's great. It's how people that you choose to respond to that. Me personally, I don't take it personal and deal with the words being spoken, not how they are spoken to me. That's very good, Sarah. Well done. It's not so much the words, it's the tonality. Words are just two words that put together. Good morning. There's two words. Good morning. There's another way I've said it. Good morning. There's another way I've said it. Good morning. So it's not so much the words. The words in its context means absolutely nothing. It's how the tone comes in. Well done on that one. I would then ask the patron to lower their voice so that we can try to clarify the issue. And in failing to do that, ask them to leave. Absolutely, 100%. So one of the questions I think earlier was, am I allowed to ask the customer to leave? There's got to be extenuating circumstances to ask that customer to leave. Now, because the person's raising their voice, that doesn't give me a reason to ask the person to leave. I might say, sir, if you're going to continue this language, I'd like to have this discussion outside. I would like to go with them. I wouldn't just go, you need to go, because that could anger them even more. But great responses here. These are good responses. You can ask them to leave. And if the person turns around and says, I'm not leaving, now you're in conflict. And we don't want that. The goal here is to get them to go from anger to less anger. But everything that you've said here, Sarah, is 100% correct. So I'm loving what you're saying. And you're right. If it's the trigger point that has that person raise, then that trigger point is something that we have to be mindful of. And it's how we handle it. All right, we need to get into, why we get angry. And then you'll be able to see that there are some of the reasons that make us get angry. Did that come up? That did come up. Why do we get angry? Let's have a quick look at this. There it is. 7 stages of anger. We've just been through this. First one, there's got to be a trigger point. I don't know what that is. As little as something in the mail, or someone's looking at you the wrong way, or you look at them the wrong way, or maybe you don't give them any eye contact and you're doing some work and you're asking them questions and you're going, name, address, what's your telephone number? And no eye contact's happening. That person might go, why don't you look at me? Then there's the initial reaction. Then there's a bit of minor discomfort. I don't like what's going on here. Then there is the expression where the face starts to change. The eyebrows drop. You've heard of these micro expressions, the tapping on the bench, the looking at the watch. These are all little micro expressions that happen. The scratching of the head, the I'm getting impatient here, the looking around. All these expressions start to add up to I'm getting angry. And if we haven't recognized these signs early, it's going to get up into the top part. Then it intensifies. Then it reflects on how you talk to them and deal with them. And then hopefully there can be a resolution. But that after intensity, it's very hard to get down to, okay, I know what I have to do here. I know I need to remain calm. And maybe what I can do is offer something where there could be a better resolution. Let's have a look at this. Everything that this person, the guy with the camera, the person spitting at you, the person raising their voice, the person that is being just being disrespectful, every behavior has a purpose, and that's to fulfill their own need. And that could be they want power. I know I have, and I'm sure you have. You've dealt with supervisors, managers, owners who have used their power to say something like, what does this say? This says supervisor. What does that say? That doesn't say anything. Just keep in mind the order of authority. I've had people that said that to me when I was younger, a lot younger. It could be revenge. The person doesn't like what you have said or done, and they will come in. Rates time is a perfect example. They have to pay rates. They've got to pay their rates, and somebody comes in with 10-cent pieces and throws it on the desk. What does that prove? It says that this person wants to show you that not only do they think they have more power over you, but they need revenge. They don't like paying the rates, and it fulfills a need. What is the need? Have a look at the bottom there. The need is for destructive behavior. Why? Because it gives them instant gratification. Try it. Try it. I'm sure if you have children, we've all yelled at our children. We don't mean to. They frustrate us. But in that moment, in that one split second moment, it gives us a bit of gratification that we can use this power over someone that can't defend themselves, where we yell. And in that moment, it must give us gratification. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. What we then do afterwards is we have remorse and sorrow. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have raised my voice. I'm a bad mother. I'm a bad father. I'm going to go to hell. So we all do it. Then there's attention seeking. Some of the people who you're dealing with, the guy with the camera, person raising their voice, they just are seeking attention. There was this issue, I'm sure you were aware of it, at the Scenic Rim Council, where there was a person who walked into the library and was starting to go on about one of the library books, which was a book about young children being shown how to do some sexual things because they were allowed to have that library book or something. This guy walked into the library, made a point at filming, attention seeking, putting it live on his YouTube channel. That's attention seeking behavior. How do you deal with that? Then there's hopelessness. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm so, I'm so hopeless at trying to deal with this sort of stuff. I don't know how please help me. I can't pay my rates. I don't know. I didn't bring my library card with me. Oh, I don't know how to log in. I forgot my password. Hopelessness. They're attention seekers. I bet you we all have these friends that I have a friend of mine. He's a great friend of mine, but he sucks the life out of me. I'll just go, why is he like that? Because he knows that he's going to get attention from me. He just knows it. And he inadvertently does because he's my mate. But if he does it to me, who's his mate, then what's he like when he deals with other people? And then there's conformity, which is the need is well, everyone treats library people with disrespect, so I might as well join the queue. And that's what conformity is about. Hope some of this is starting to make sense. Where does it come from? Very quickly, DNA, I don't know. I don't know if you're born angry. Are you born happy? I'm sure it comes from somewhere in our DNA. I have Viking heritage, so I'm allowed to be a little bit more aggressive, apparently. It's definitely coming from your upbringing, your environment. You could have learned that anger is the best way to get things, past experience, circumstances, cultural. But again, if you've learned to be angry, then you can also learn to calm people down. You should be able to learn to calm people down. And then the last thing here is some of the emotional symptoms is they just want to get out of a situation. It's irritation. There's sadness, depression, guilt. There's resentment. Some people don't like it that during COVID, think about this. During COVID, you worked. Other people couldn't. Why wouldn't you allow them to get angry? Like, I know we're saying, well, they shouldn't get angry. It's not my fault, that I was working with a council that allowed me to work, but you worked. Other people lost their jobs. So they're resentful that you worked and that they couldn't. Of course, what gives them that? Anxiety. Then that from here, they want to lash out. And they do. They lash out at you where you have nothing to do with it, but they need someone to lash out in front of. And then there's this uneasy desire for people to lash out physically. And what do I see it? I don't see it as anger anymore. I see what's hidden behind it. I see shame, hurt, fear, anxiety, sadness, guilt, insecurity, jealousy, embarrassment, and rejected. When you start to see all these things here, we start to understand that the reason why this person, the guy with the camera, I'm telling him, sir, you can't film in here. What's he got? He's got maybe he's been rejected. Maybe there's a bit of anxiety now. And maybe there's shame. Why didn't anyone tell me I'm not allowed to film in here? So he's put himself out there. So what does he do? He goes fight, flight, flow, or freeze. And he goes, I'm fighting this. And so they will fight it. And they pick on us when that's not right.